Brent Graham of Good for the Game. It's Thursday night, 9 o'clock. It's time for the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. We're going to be talking Six Nations round 2, and I've got the Undertaker joining me, but a late addition to the show. I didn't have time to get my daughter to stick him onto the thumbnail. You'll see him now as I bring it down. Let's go straight to the bottom of the screen. He hasn't been on for quite some time, but it's Chris Rowe, or as most of you know him on Twitter, at the Crow Tips, or Crow Tips as he's known for short on there. Chris, welcome back to the show, mate. Great to have you on. And what have you been up to in South Africa at the moment?
Yeah, Brent, you're always good to be back. And I think I was on it a few months ago, I think, with you boys, if I can remember, which was good. But yeah, I'm back in Cape Town, been here for a while, and I've just started a new job, and it's based in London, but they've kindly let me work out here for the first month or two to start the role. So that's pretty cool. So I'll be here for another month or two and then head back probably in April sometime. So yeah, it's been great. It's been exactly what I needed. It's been 3 years since I've been here, so it's been good.
And I see you've grown. Remember the last time you were on the show with me, I think you were totally clean shaven. I'd never seen that before. You got the beard back.
Yeah, it's coming back. Yeah.
No, excellent. Well, I must tell you, I've got a fan on. I've got the door open. If you listen carefully, you might hear my resident cricketer's back. But this is not alcohol. This is ice water. It's incredibly hot here in Johannesburg at the moment. So I'll be drinking that during the show. But one man, I'm not sure if he's going to be drinking ice water. He definitely had something in his hand there. It's Hendrik Swart, a.k.a. the Undertaker. Hendrik, what's in the glass, mate?
Double branding.
Do I have to ask? Excellent. Well, listen, Hendrik, great to have you back on the show, mate. I mean, you and I last week, I know we both started off the Six Nations on the wrong foot because we both liked the French against Ireland. I managed to come back. Did you manage to recover from that on the weekend, or was it all downhill?
Brent, we went camping the weekend, so I wasn't too focused on the rugby. Unfortunately, my big bet on the French, obviously got off to loss there, and then I did take a bit of the Italy overs and made a bit back on that. But overall, a solid loss for me last weekend. I was way off on that French. Ireland were very good. And the French were very flat. I actually watched the game on my phone next to the campfire Friday night. But yeah, they were really poor. So solid loss starting off. So hopefully we can bounce back this weekend.
100% correct. And as much as some people might have said Ireland could have won, I don't think anyone called the Ireland win that, the convincing, absolute runaway Ireland win there. So yeah, let's hope we can fight back. I managed to claw back about square, and it felt like a win for me. Let's welcome some of the boys in the Mark chat. Mark Dumphy, good to have you back. Mark, of course, Mark's back the week after such a thumping Irish victory. He wasn't going to miss the show, and he says, "Great to see the Undertaker and Crow Tips." Stefan Jabez says, "Double brandy and Coke. The only thing he doesn't take unders on. That's for sure. You can always go overs on the Undertaker when he's on the double brandy and Coke." Chris, just yourself from the first week's point of view, don't get into too much detail because we'll cover that in the games, but profitable, or did you show a loss in your first week of Six Nations?
Yeah, I'll be honest, Brent says, I like my bet builders, so the bet builders took me home, and I think, I have taken a bit of a break on the betting, to be fair. That's why I've been quite quiet on Twitter and the show, so I'm getting back into it now, but yeah, I was also on the French. I saw a French rebound from the World Cup, point to prove, tails up Marseille, and then half an hour later my gut wrote in, and I wrote a tweet half an hour later saying, actually, you know what, don't be surprised if the French are not what we think they're going to be, an Irish win. And that's what happened. But I didn't have money on it. My betting was on Saturday, so I was okay. But not say take it easy, but I'm ready to roll into the season and roll into Super Rugby, which is just around the corner as well, so looking forward to that.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be looking at Super Rugby as well. Maybe do a separate show for Super Rugby. I've got quite a few New Zealand guys that enjoy coming on that. But I think we definitely got to focus on Super Rugby. Looking forward to that. But let's get into this week's Six Nations matches. And Chris, I'll start with you. We've got Scotland plus 4.5. This is exactly where I handicapped the game. There's been no real movement. I know there was some plus 5.5 in places, and that got trimmed down to the plus 4.5. So perhaps a bit of money for the Scots. We've got a points line of 45.5. And yeah, a very interesting game is because Scotland, 27-0 against Wales just after half time. You're thinking they're going to absolutely thump them. They win by a point. And Hendrik has already given us the rundown on the French performance. Very flat. What are your views on this one?
I agree, Brent. I think this is pretty well capped. It's maybe even a little bit generous for the French. They were but unfair there to Scots. That probably could have been a bit closer. because I think it's going to be quite a good game. And like you said, we spoke about the French, and the French are coming with pretty much an unchanged team. I think Worky comes in for Willemse, and the winger comes in. So it's probably not too much of a change. But what you should expect is France to come back, turn around. I am expecting that. But when I made that tweet about this last weekend about Ireland, I started to think with no Dupont, and whenever Intermax come in, maybe France are the team to fade for a good couple of months or even this tournament. Maybe they ain't going to get out the blocks now, because it's clear that they have a World Cup hangover. It's clear that Dupont is Dupont. I mean, he's a big difference to that team. And when Intermax there, makes a massive difference. So if the French are there for the taking, it's this one. The French and the Scots have often given them good games. I know there's been a lot closer games than we probably would have thought they would be. But if I can recall, a lot of those are when France have actually been quite well ahead and Scots have come back. So is that something to look at? I mean, I think then looking at the Scots, the Scots have lost their captain, Richie Gray, which I think is important. And Crosby's gone. I think that's a big losses. When they both went off, they seemingly, Scotland went off the boil. But, previous Scotland into this game and Wales, game of completely two halves. So which team are we looking here that's going to come in? Because I mean, Scotland were completely dominant in the first half. Of Wales, probably one of the worst first halves again of international rugby team I've ever seen. So do you right into that? Because Scotland basically probably won the game after 15 minutes and shut up shop. In comes Wales, kept the ball nicely. So where do these teams stand, right? I don't know quite yet with Scotland. But I think let's talk about the caps of the bet. And I think 4 is quite well capped. I'll be leaning towards a +4. But I probably, as you probably well aware, I like the points at 45. I thought 47, 48 is where it could be. So I'm seeing 45s. I like 45. So I'll be leaning on I think I will be playing the points over I play the cap in this one, because France are in this, but Scotland have the ability to take France. Yeah, France are there for the taking, but I expect a bigger performance. So I'm leaning on the points overs here, and I in the best bets later, I'll put that in the alt later as a best bet as well. So we'll talk about that later.
100%. Just to mention Harry coming in and saying he had Scotland -1. Need I say more? I mean, 27-0 at that stage. They're probably trading around -35.5 or something ridiculous. I mean, that is just really, really stiff, Harry. The only thing I can say is all of us punters have been around the block a few times. We've all been there and done that. It's amazing what can happen in sports betting. Well, I was on the Scots minus, but fortunately my bigger interest was on the total points. So I was quite happy with that second half. That pulled me back a bit. Henrik, what do you think of this game? The handicap has been very stable, and I'm with Chris on this one. I'm leaning towards an overs play. I'm not sure if we can twist the Undertaker's arm, though.
I'm actually with both of you guys on the points. And so, yeah, my bigger fancy will also be on the over 45.5. I think the way these two teams play, especially the Scots, and the style when they play each other, I think this game definitely leans towards points. I've checked the conditions; should be very good conditions at Murrayfield. So yeah, I'm not sure who the ref is. I think it's actually Dolman, and he is an overs ref. If I remember correct, James Dolman is the ref here, and he's a solid overs ref. So yeah, I think overs is the way to go here. On the handicap, I would have made this closer to choice actually. So I'm leaning towards the plus, and I give Scotland the chance to win the game because the French, they're playing away from home, and we know how French teams can fade away from it. This French team is probably not the kind of French team of old that because this is much better French team, and like Chris said, you can probably expect a bit of a bounce back from them. But still, Scotland, the way they played in that first half, and they were probably very complacent in the second half against the Welsh. I think this is a good Scotland team if they can up front, if they can match the French. I think they're in with a shot to win this game actually. So +4 is the way to go. +4.5. I think that's a good bet, but the points is the way to go here. I agree with both of you guys. I would price the total points at 49.5 here. So I think over 45.5 is a good bet here.
I think the good for the game best bet newsletter, which I didn't write last week because I was feeling, those who watched the show will know I had a terrible bout of flu last week. But I didn't write the New Zealand, but I think that could be coming out quite early on Friday morning because I've got a feeling this line is going to move a little bit, that's for sure. Is this, Henrik, one thing very interesting when you're talking about your thinking of the game about the handicap? It was exactly when I was capping the game, and I don't take very long on it, but if Scotland had kept going in that second half against Wales, I would have had no hesitation, as you say, marking this as a choice game. It was just that sort of second half fade that had me thinking, no, okay, France are favourites. But I'm not strong on the handicap at all, but very similar thought lines. What you got for us there, Chris?
Yeah, I think you guys have, if memory serves me right, Scotland aren't an 80-minute team ever. They often fade. If they're up in a big match, I mean, barring that when Wales capitulated last minute, but they did. When they're in a big test match, they don't hang around for 80 minutes too often. So France will always be in this game for sure. It's just a matter of if you're right, if Scotland can drive it over the line, if they have a chance to win, because it's not often that they're in that opportunity. But this is a different Scottish side. I think they do lack something without Darcy Graham. I have to admit, there's a little bit lack in there on the outside backs. Obviously, Vandermeer's been great. Ben White, I like Ben White. I prefer him to the other scrummies they have on offer. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's probably going to be a humdinger.
Right, well, we'll stick with or go to Henrik for this one. It's England against Wales. This handicap been fairly stable. I think I went 12.5. The handicap opened 10.5. It's settling now at around about 11.5. We've got a points line here at Twickenham of 44.5. Henrik, what do you think of this one? England, well, they were 10-0 down against Italy last week, but they came back to win the game. Didn't beat the handicap. And Wales, we've chatted about, of course, scoring those 26 unanswered points in the last 35 minutes. What's your views here?
No, this one is too big, Brent. This handicap is too big. I'd make it 7.5. Converted try for England at English, they weren't that good against Italy. Obviously, Italy were good, and the English were playing away. The Welsh, the way they came back in that second half, you have to respect that Gatling factor. I think the plus 11.5 is the way to go here. Points wise, I'm a bit unsure because this could get cagey. The two types of team playing here, the forwards. It might be a lot of kicking, so I'm unsure about the points. I won't go unders because the quote is quite low, but I won't go overs either. I'm unsure about the points, but I think the plus 11.5 is a solid bet.
I must say, yeah, Chris, I'm going to bring you in now. I am leaning towards the points overs here again. At the moment, I see lines are 44.5, and I know the Six Nations historically can have some really low-scoring games. But I just get the feeling, and I got the feeling last week that, the teams are playing fairly open rugby in that. So I'm leaning points overs here on this one. What do you like in the here for us?
Yeah, I'm not sure you needed to bring me on the show. Yeah, Brent, I think Hendrik's nailed it again. Yeah, we're going to be aligned. This cap is too high. England, Wales, are you joking? These teams give each other a close game every single time, no matter what teams they put out there. I don't know where this love. Well, actually, I can. The bookies do love a little bit of a over exaggeration for England, especially at Twickenham. I guess possibly the changes the Wales have made are worrying me. I mean, there's a new front row there, new flanker, Ian Lloyd, I think his name is. They're fly off. I actually think Wales look better. Their structures look better with him when he comes on the field, to be honest. So I don't think they've lose too much. There was Costello. But it's shape, I agree. They've put themselves into really horrible games in those warm-ups, right? But in Six Nations games, they've had some real go at each other and some points have flowed. So if it's going to happen today, if points are going to come, it's going to be this game. So I agree that quote is low, is a bit low. I'll be leaning towards the overs, and I think that plus is also, as Henrik saying, I capped it at 7.5. So this cap is I don't understand how this cap is that high. So this is quite a strong plus for me on the handicap as well. So a big strong on the plus, and a medium to strong feeling on the overs. Also, I wanted to look at England points, but I see England points is 27. I was hoping for 25, 24, but 27 is now just pushing it a bit high because I think Wales defense. What the only caveat I put is I think England, they unchanged, Wales are changed. It's good for England that they've done. I don't think it's still their best team, but I think England will do a big Twickenham performance, and I just wonder if this is going to be the day that they actually have a good one because it's been long overdue. So, but I still think Wales will never die in front of England. So that's why it's. I can't remember when England beat them by more than that. It's been a long time. So.
Right, so the two panelists certainly aligned on that one. I'm not as convinced on the handicap, but certainly looking at points. Even if it's a short show tonight, Shane is asking a question here, general betting question. What do you prefer to bet, international rugby or club rugby? He prefers international.
International for me by far. Yeah, international by far. I love the internationals and I love the big derbies. Those are and the English Prem. That's my three main loves.
So, Henrik, I'm going to answer before I let you answer. I love the internationals. Nothing beats the Rugby World Cup for me. And I love the Six Nations. But from a betting value point of view, or from a, let's call it spotting the value point of view, sometimes the club rugby is better. Because if you look at like the Six Nations handicaps, I mean, the bookies have come out, the handicaps haven't moved more than a point all week. Whereas when you get the early betting in the club rugby, you sometimes get massive movements, which if you're one of those guys who like to get in early, you can take advantage of. But my answer would be international rugby, because I just love it when it's played at the top level. What are your thoughts?
Brent, I agree 100% with you and with Chris, what you both said. I prefer international rugby. From a viewing point, obviously, it doesn't get better. Test rugby is the ultimate. And it's much easier to read form with the test rugby as well than club rugby. But saying that, you do get great opportunities in a club competition, especially early on, because the bookies aren't that clued up. From experience with Super Rugby especially, I always have great first 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks, and then my betting, then I start losing.
Then catch up with you, baby.
After 5, 6, 7 weeks, I think to myself, "Oh, can't this competition please stop?" Because I can't stop betting on it, but I keep losing.
Yeah, we know that story.
So I think if you follow it closely, over years, and especially with the teams and the coaches and stuff, it changes. There's always changes at the beginning of the year. And if you're sharp, you will. And Brent, you speak about the bookmakers lag. So you get you can beat the books in the first few weeks, in my opinion, in a club competition. You won't beat them in Test rugby. They set the lines very well in Test rugby every year. But like I said, it's much easier to read form in Test rugby. So, and that's why I like Six Nations as well, because you know what you're going to get most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, it's a good question. It's a great question by Shane.
Yeah, it's a great question.
I enjoy the club rugby and the Test rugby to bet on, and you know what you're going to get from the Test rugby, but I think if you know what to look for, you get some great opportunities in the club rugby.
Yeah, 100%. I think that sums it up really nicely. Let's move on to the last game. This is a monster of a handicap. I think I came out 27.5, but I'm the first to say that I won't be lumping into the Italy plus 27.5. But 35.5 is a big cap, but it is Ireland. I mean, if they keep their level of performance up, they'll comfortably put Italy away. What do you think here, Chris? I mean, points is high at 60.
Yeah.
I did see a comment, which I'll bring up now while you're talking, about that the weather's a bit patchy there. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I totally agree. So I'll be honest, out of these 3 games, this is one I'm most likely going to stay away because first I don't often bet on Italy games, and secondly, you're right. I don't think we have the teams that I imagine Ireland are going to put up pretty much close to a full strength side. And what you kind of end up betting on is what Ireland are arriving. I mean, are they going to just come here, get the win, pack up shop, and the game goes out, and Italy get it 1 or 2 scores, and they only win by 20. And then in that saying that the cap is too high. So if any of my money is going on it, it's the cap will be on the plus, because I just genuinely never am a big I don't bet on these big minuses, even though Ireland are very capable of putting that cap away. I mean, they could easily win by 50. So in saying that, you can see very unsure and undecisive. So it's not a game I'm going to be targeting. So I'm going to target those other games really hard. I suppose, I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Henrik, I'm not sure. I think the Italy Plus arrived again. Yes, it did, because they were bloody winning at halftime. The Italy Plus halftime gig, I think that bet's won like 8 out of the last 10 times. So I think if I was going to bet, it would be the plus on that or the plus on the Italy on the halftime, because I think that market's been paying out most of the time. I think a lot of the guys have found that trend, and it's a trend that you could probably carry on. I would imagine. But I don't know if I'm not going to put my stake down yet on that.
The disciplined approach by Chris. The question is, will the Undertaker have that same discipline? Is he getting involved? Yeah.
Brent, firstly on the weather, I see Shane commented and Harry. The Dublin weather looks good for Sunday. There's rain early in the day, but that's like very early morning, so the weather will be good. In my opinion, plus 35.5 is very disrespectful to Italy. I would have kept that at 28.5, like you, Brent. I think this handicap is too big. I've only had one bet early in the week, and that's plus 30. I think it's 34, 35 on Italy. I can't remember, but I had a solid strike on Italy. Ireland were very impressive last week in Marseille, and you have to respect them at home, and it is Italy away from home, so I might end up with egg on face again with Italy. But yeah, this is my strongest fancy on the weekend, actually. Italy plus. I like Italy plus a lot. I think Italy will push Ireland, and Ireland, like you said, Ireland might step off the gas here. This is a different Italy team. They can score points. That's the thing. Previous years, Italy tried to defend, and they stayed in the game by defense. But this Italy team can score points. So I saw 12.5 points on Italy as well. And
you're going exactly where I was going to ask you. You lead.
They're going to beat the 12.5, 13.5 quote you get on Italy points. They're going to score 2 tries. They're going to score at least 2 tries, and they're going to maybe get a penalty in there as well. They're going to score 17 points there.
17,
and then they might stay in the cap as well. So I like the plus, and I like the overs on Italy. And of all 3 games, this is my strongest.
Oh, well.
I must say, Henrik, while you were talking there, I was saying everything you're saying is starting to lead me towards an Italy points. And I was going to prompt you in that direction, but you got there on your own. And I 100% agree with you there. I think this Italy team, yes, they might still take some big knocks, but they're contributing to the game, which they never used to in the past. And yes, Ireland, if Ireland are switched on for 80 minutes, they can keep Italy out. But the reality is, if Ireland get well clear, this is an Italy side that can come back and score a couple of tries. Like you say, hopefully, what you actually hope is that they get the first points, 3-0 or whatever. It just takes, if you're on 12.5, it just means 2 tries don't have to be converted and you collect. So, any views on that Italy points there, Chris?
Yeah, no, I love it. I agree with it. 17 also came out the same. I think we've capped these games pretty much this equally, Henrik and myself, this weekend. So I totally agree with that. And the more I'll be honest, I hadn't looked at this game much because I was focusing, but the more we talk about it, I agree. I think if I remember Ireland, it's very hard to put performances like that back to back. I don't think Ireland come to this game with the same intensity as they did last week. I think an easy win. I mean, it's probably a 20 max, but it could, like I said, it could even end up being around this. Again, that's why now that cap looks really good. That cap looks really good. That Italy points looks really good. And there's no doubt there'll be some money on mine in one of those somewhere along the line of some bet.
like you said, two big performances after each other in international rugby doesn't happen a lot.
Very difficult.
Ireland might start fast here, but somewhere they're going to step off the gas.
Yeah,
so 35
I agree. Yeah,
that's it. Well, Chris came into the show not going to have a bet on this, and he's quite friendly now. That's the beauty.
To be honest, Brent, I hadn't looked at it. Yeah, I hadn't looked at it, and now listening to you boys, you've got that all got it wrapped up there. So easy money, easy game, yeah.
I'll focus on the show, hear each other's opinions, because let's face it, not so much this weekend. There are only 3 games, but these days with rugby, there's just too many games to study everything. So you've got to rely on other guys.
That's another thing. That's another thing I wanted to say, Brent. My better weekends are these weekends. When there's so much rugby, I do lose focus and discipline. I honestly do. When I've got a nice 6 bash games of rugby on, and I can pinpoint that game and really get stuck into it and back it and not worry because there's nothing else to do. I genuinely place a better bet. We'll have a better weekend when it's like that. When I have more focus.
Well, Shane reckons there has been a bit of support for the Italians on the handicap into 33 at Paddy Power, which is an Irish bookmaker. And Johannes said he will continue with that halftime handicap strategy. Gentlemen, been a great show. Obviously, with 3 games, not a long one, but nice to get into a bit of detail on the chat there. But it's time now to get into the best bets. And Chris, I'm going to give you first crack.
Well, I was very sure about best bet before the show. Now I want to use the island as my best games, but I'm not, because I know Hendrik's got that covered, so that's fine. But I have a little double. I love France versus Scotland, 40 points plus England win. You can get up to 1.80 or 1.85 on that double. I think that double's pretty solid. That's a 90%. That could be a 5-unit play there for me. So I love that double. Then I love the next two. I love them the most is the overs in both the France and England game. So those will be my next two best bets after that double. And then let's throw in that island plus 35. Let's go for it.
Italy.
Right, and a reminder that you can find Chris on Twitter. They're at the Crow Tips, and it is at the Crow Tips. Hey, that's right.
Italy plus. Sorry, Italy plus. Sorry, Italy plus. Yes, sorry. Yeah, at the Crow Tips. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Sorry, I'm getting so carried away, man. Yeah, but Italy plus 35.
Right, and my newsletter, or the Good for the Game newsletter, will be coming out tomorrow. There is a link in the description box down below. Right, Undertaker, what are your best bets?
Now, Brent, I was going to say Italy plus 35.5, plus 34.5. But thinking about the points and you guys also liking the points, I think the Italy points is probably the way to go, because you can still lose the 35.5 if Ireland really are switch on in the video. But if Italy score more than 12.5 points, or if Italy stays in the 35.5, I think they have to score more than 12 points, or more than 30. So I'm going to say over 12.5.
You got to get maybe. It's a bit like, I often find it's a bit like on those big handicaps, or whatever, or you back a team like Italy points, they don't even score points at halftime, but if the game's if Ireland are far enough ahead, they could run in 3 tries in the second half. You always get that second bite to the cherry almost there.
Yeah, so I hear the halftime thing about Italy, and I like that as well. And Chris said that, and I saw Johanna Esterhuizing saying that as well in the chat. So Italy on the halftime is probably the way to go. But I'm just scared Ireland are very switched on in the first half. So I'd rather go for the full-time over Italy points. Then you can get the first half points, or you can get Ireland switching off, and you get the second half points with Italy. So I think the over 12.5 is the best bet for me. And then I'm watching the cricket at the back. I was going
to ask you what else you got for us this weekend.
So I'm going to I'm going to Newlands on Saturday. I can't wait for that. So I'm probably going to miss both Six Nations games. But I'm going to the cricket, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I see the Joburg is losing, so Durban's going through to the final. Sunrisers, they are already into the final. I saw they were this morning. I checked, and I tried betting. They were odds-on favourites, but after Durban has won now, I think there might be a bit of Durban might be favourites for the final. I think the Sunrisers are great value. They're great value for the final. I think they're going to win the final. They've probably stayed in Cape Town now after winning on Tuesday. And I just like that they're coming into form nicely. They got great bowlers. Got Markram as a good captain. I like him as a captain. So I think Sunrisers to win the tournament is a good bet as well.
Excellent. Well, I think a lot of people are jealous of you going to that game, hey? Have you, Chris? Have you been to any of the games while you've been down?
No, unfortunately not. The one that I did eye out. It was raining, so I still got the game in, but I didn't end up going. So no, I haven't, unfortunately. But I do like that. I enjoy the Sunrisers team. I won't lie. I think they love that Orange Army or the Orange Machine, whatever they call it. I enjoy them, and I think it's nice that the competitions have the 2 best teams in the final. There, it's well. I think it's a deserved final, so it should be a goodie.
And Henrik, Shane asking, will it be a high total in the SA20 final? And that's an interesting question, because Newlands is actually not, you used to think of Newlands as a very high scoring total, but it tends to favour the spin bowlers, and the batsmen tend to get strangled a bit, eh?
Strangely, the second most sixes has been at Newlands. But Newlands, you have to go unders. Don't think you can go unders, but obviously the toss is going to be vital as well again, because it's very tough to chase at night at Newlands. So that's going to be if you want to have a bet on a game, maybe wait until after the toss and then just back the team who bats first.
100%. Anyway, gents, that brings us to the end of the show. Let me thank all the guys on the live chat. Great to have you along with us. to the Undertaker. Oh, sorry, Chris, you got something to add there before we say cheers?
No, I was about to say if you guys wanted to make a comment on Munster beating Crusaders, or we're not writing much into that, because that was quite an interesting result, wasn't it?
I saw a tweet somewhere on that, but I must be honest, like I've got no idea. Was it were the teams taking?
Yeah, it was a friendly. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I just saw it mentioned, and I see they're playing Bristol this weekend. I haven't seen any betting on it, but I won't get. I don't know. I don't play the friendlies, but still interesting. Interesting that the old Munster beat the save, because there's a big. I've seen Twitter big debates. Crusaders versus La Rochelle. I think at the end of last season there was a massive 2-week-long debate about who was going to win there, and the Northern Hemisphere got one up there. So it'll be interesting to see what this Bristol. I know knowing the Crusaders, they'll probably bounce back, put it right, but interesting nonetheless, right?
Yeah, no, it is. It is. I'd like to see them play when they're both targeting the game, and one.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't think the Crusaders is even at full strength, so it would have been nice.
Yeah.
Full strength.
Yeah,
I didn't even know about
anyway,
the game,
interesting. Yeah, me too. I saw it afterwards. Someone made a comment in one of my groups. I was like, yeah.
And Jason just mentioning this, he's looking ahead to next week, the massive UFC card. Now, UFC is a sport, I know amongst us older punters, if I want to know, maybe I shouldn't classify myself with you guys, you're a bit younger than me, but, I haven't really got into it yet. But I see the youngsters, my son's age group and that sort of stuff, are really into this UFC at the moment. I think maybe this is something where maybe we have to do a video on this one, get a couple of UFC guys in, because that really seems to be picking up popularity. And, of course, Strickus du Plessis doing no harm to the cause there either. So thanks, Jason. That could be a good one. And aside from that, guys, I think it'll probably be just mainly the rugby and the cricket for me this weekend. I don't bet big on the cricket, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And looking very forward to it. And Chris, great to have you back on the show, mate. And
always good to talk rugby with you boys. I think we're going to do some reformatting there. We're changing it up a bit, so we're just waiting to see what we're doing for the rest of the year. Obviously, we brought into the international season, which is bigger for the podcasters in general. I think the books make the podcasters money, So we're going to wait for the Rassie and book effect to come back. I mean, that series later in the year, I'm licking my lips there for that Irish series later. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be excellent. And Undertaker, enjoy the cricket, and as always, good to have you on the show. And let's hope we hit a few winners this weekend.
Thanks for having me, Brent. Good luck to everybody. I hope we can bounce back, me and you, with having a loss last weekend. It looks like some good opportunities this weekend on the Six Nations. So hopefully we're right.
Excellent. Well, I've got a good feeling about this weekend. Thanks to my guests, and thanks to all the guys in the live chat. And to those of you who watch the show afterwards, give us a like. It helps the channel a lot. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week